You're listening to the Awakening Woman Ready to Thrive. I'm your host, Florence Agpabi, and this is your space to return to your truth, your rhythm, your power. Let's begin. Okay, so welcome back to another episode of the Awakening Woman Ready to Thrive. Today I am so excited that I finally get to have a conversation with my guest today, AJ Smit. I could say lots about her. When I think about her, I just think of the word joy. It's just what pops up into my mind. Just her smile, the way that she talks, just everything about her. She's so colorful, butterfly, joy. Yeah. Mermaid, how could I forget as well? Yeah, mermaid energy. So AJ, welcome to this space. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself for the women who are listening on the other side.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for having me. It's been like 2 years. This has been in the works, so I am thrilled about this as well. My name is AJ, she, her. I'm a military spouse, hot chocolate connoisseur, plant lover, glitter enthusiast, and I'm also an intuitive soul coach. So I help people access their creativity, wonder, joy, so that they show up in ways that are aligned for them and feel alive. And it's just my absolute favorite, and I have no chill about it. I'm also a henna artist and love twirling, so it's good stuff, and I'm grateful to be here today.
Twirling? What's that?
Twirling? Oh,
Yeah.
when you spin. It's like when you're wearing clothes that bring you joy and you twirl. And so it's just something I joke about, right? Of like doing the twirl test with your clothing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So feeling good in yourself, feeling good in your body. Yeah, loving yourself basically. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the Awakening Woman podcast, and it's really for the woman who is done with surviving and knows that there is so much more to life. They are ready to thrive, and they're at that threshold. And I wanted to invite you in because you've kind of seen my deconstruction journey, and you have an idea of what that's looked like. And I feel like it's not so clean cut. It's not like awakening means one thing or awakening means another thing. For me, it's been like the whole thing. It's been the faith element as well as motherhood and some other things as well. And I just wanted to get an idea from you when we think about awakening. What does that mean to you? And in particular, when we think about the woman who is awakening, what does that mean to you?
What a beautiful question. Yeah. And in terms of deconstruction as well, for awakening, in sobriety, we have this idea about a spiritual awakening. And it's like that you're aware at new levels that you were not able to experience before. So for me, awakening feels like that aliveness. Sometimes you're just like doing the motions and day in, day out, or like you look at people and they're just like a little dull in the eyes. And you're like, are you okay? And so awakening for me feels like this vibrancy that like blooms into everything and the aliveness of which you feel and the layers of it, right? Like I feel like I'm awakening and expanding exponentially, honestly, in the last 4 years that I didn't even know was possible. And now I'm like, oh, what's next, right? It's almost like you don't stop. Like you think you're like, okay, I'm awake now. I get it. And then you're like, oh, here's this thing. Oh, we can feel this good. Oh, we can feel this rich, even with like, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that, because I really feel like you're using words like aliveness and vibrancy, and I really, really love those words because there's like a texture. There's a texture to them. It's really, really a felt experience, isn't it? So can you tell me a little bit about your journey, if you don't mind sharing? What have those layers looked like? What has that expansion felt like for you?
Oh, yeah. I think for context, I grew up evangelical and I naturally run high, ADHD combined type, that I just found out 2 years ago. But just naturally, I always joked that God like sneezed when pouring in the joy, and I just got a double dose. So I just, it's like, okay, like this is just how I'm wired. And, but I also learned, as many like oldest siblings, oldest daughters do, and like Christian women, to serve and make everybody else happy, right? If everybody else is happy, I get to be happy. And then I got to college, met my queer friends, realized I was on the queer spectrum, and like started asking questions. And so the awakening was kind of like, yeah, but you should sit here. And they're like, I literally got kicked out of that church. And it's like, but they said everyone was welcome. And they're like, no, it's not actually what they mean by that. And so the awakening kind of started back in 2012, of like asking bigger, wider questions. And then my husband joined the Air Force. And then as I continued asking questions, and in 2015, 2016, started reading like Sarah Bessey, things of that nature. And I was like, I knew it. We can be a feminist and we can be Christian, right? Like that new like awake of like, there's something here. And for me, the expansion always feels like there's something here that we're not talking about. Like there's a layer here, there's more here. And people are like, no, this is it. This is all there is. You should be happy. The amount of times people are like, you should be happy that this is good. And I'm like, yeah, but there's something like there's more. This is not all we were created for. There's a tangibleness. And like when we did worship growing up, there was like this richness to it, this realness that started missing. And so then as I started deconstructing my faith, as the church I belonged to and the greater American church started transforming, and not started transforming, right? Like there were things underneath that revealed themselves. But I found that tug inside that was like, no, the more is your desire for more is not wrong. It's real. And then found Angela, met you, met some other people, Jen Hatmaker, then trying to get like my hysterectomy, I think in 2017 maybe. And that led me to Lucy Pierce, Burning Woman, like so many books and women who were talking about spirituality and womanhood and embodiment that I didn't have language for, that went, that like, oh, like somebody says it and you're like, that's it. That's the language. So for me, it's been this constant like, oh, we can have that. Oh, that's what's missing. It just feels like I've been surrounded by so many women who are speaking out, you included, that say words that it's like that. Thank you for being brave enough to say it out loud. Thank you for putting this in a book. Thank you for putting it on a podcast. And then the part in me awakens to, oh yes, I was built for that too. Does that make sense? And now it's like,
gosh, yeah, it does make
spiritual, yeah, more alignment, deeper, and then getting sober was a whole thing. But like, this is now just, oh yeah, it just keeps getting better.
Yeah, I'm hearing so much from that, and I'm feeling like, oh wow. But okay, so let's start with questions, because I think questions is what we articulate, but there's something that comes before the questions, right? There's something that comes before the questions, and I think that's really important. I think that's like what you've touched upon, this kind of missingness, this kind of void and emptiness, and we're like, something doesn't feel right here, something's missing here. This is not the quality of life that I want to live.
Yeah. When was that? Yeah, 100%. When was that for you? Or are you, because it comes in layers, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're mulling now that you're like, there's something here on the edge that like maybe you don't have language for it yet? Whatever you want to share. I'm dying to know what's your experience been with this.
I think it's really hard because, as you said, sometimes you don't have the language for it until you hear something, and you're like, that's absolutely it. And this is why I call like the awakening woman, it's really the threshold. You know, you're ready to thrive, and you need like that transmission, which is what I'm hoping this whole series is, really a transmission, a frequency, which is what the word that I was going to use. It's like a vibrational frequency. You talk and talk and talk, but not everybody is willing to receive it because they're not open to that frequency yet. They're not ready to receive that transmission yet. Exactly. And so so for me, it's like, yes, there's a something, and I know it. It's like a buzzing, a vibration. Somebody called it a hum, you know? It's there. It's an undercurrent. It's like, I'm not going to use the Matrix word, but, you know, some people might say it's a bit like the Matrix, you know? But it's like there's another reality, like, kind of on top of this one that kind of feels like, how do I go over there, kind of thing. Like, you begin to feel and know in yourself, and it's the permission piece, I think, which allows you to begin to even allow yourself to express that question, to begin to articulate it, right?
Yes. I feel like we need a moment for how gorgeously said that was. Like, ma'am, yes, that was the goodness. Because those are the words I use, is that it feels like a frequency or like a new baseline of existing, or like a new lens, like chameleons can see 20 colors instead of the humans 13 or something like that. Like I see in Technicolor now, like I'm just double stamping. It's unfortunate that y'all listening can't see the video, because as she was sharing, I was like just over here with my hands up. I was like, yes, this is the goodness. Like, oh.
Yeah, definitely. So I do feel like if you're at a place where there are questions, then you're definitely at that part of awakening. You're at that threshold where it's not enough, where the thing is not enough anymore.
Yeah. And that's hard. It's hard too when it's good. It makes sense when things are not good, right? When we're struggle busting, or when we're like in desperation or frustrated and we're like, none of this is working. This is terrible. I've got to do it all over. Like, we're ready to like put in the work then, right? To change it around, to turn the ship around. But when things are good and you want better, then we're labeled greedy or selfish, or like, hey, you're being too much, or like, you should be happy, or like, you have everything and people are starving, or people don't have this, or people don't have a marriage, or people like what, all of it. And it's this weird dichotomy you get put up of, okay, I have good, so I can't have great because these don't have good. But then if I had great, I'd be able to also, like the studies that have been done of money in the hands of women versus men, exponential, exponential. And the hold back, it only serves, like, I'm sure we're all aware, the white supremacist, capitalist, patriarchal structures, like, are built to keep certain people in power. And so when those, like, yeah, but why would you want, the question I've started asking myself is, if I stay in this mindset, if I say, okay, if I accept this and don't follow the nudge, who is that serving? Who is benefiting? Who is made more comfortable by me not asking this question? And like, that's been super eye-opening, because sometimes it's uncomfortable for me. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for other people. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for everybody. But Liz Gilbert said something, liberation is not a one-way street. She said it in the Untamed book, like Glennon Doyle wrote it, but Liz Gilbert said it to her. And that just rings in my ear, is that A, if God is God, God is big enough to answer our questions. And B, liberation is not a one-way street. And C, like, just freedom is forever. It ripples. It's like the ripples of it, right? And like, you being more free helps me see, oh, I can have this too. The permission giving of it. Yeah.
I think that's really, I think that's so important. Because fear does hold us back, really. The fear really does hold us back. And it looks like different things for different people,
Yeah.
but the fear is like that inbuilt voice that isn't ours, but it's like what we've inherited, it's what we've learned, and it keeps us safe. I'm just going to go back to maybe like Christianity for a moment, because that was such a big one for me, and it's only been quite recently that I've said, I'm not Christian anymore. It's like language that I've played with, and like, how does it feel when I say this? How does it sit with me? I played with the concept of post-Christian. That's a
Yeah.
whole term as well. But I think I'm okay now. Not I think. I feel like, actually, no, I'm not a Christian, and that's okay, because it doesn't mean that I've abandoned spirituality or God or anything else. I have made space for what I want to come into my spirituality, into my faith system. Like, I'm curating, I'm curating it for myself, versus having it handed to me and said, this is everything you need to believe. I'm trying things out, and I'm being selective, and I'm forming my own faith belief system, whatever you want to call it. But that was such a huge one to navigate, and for me, especially as a black woman and a black mother raising a black daughter, it was huge. I wrote about it in one of my Substack posts, and one of the things that I wasn't aware of when I started my journey, or when I became aware that I was even deconstructing, because my daughter was, she was quite small, but as soon as she became social and she wanted to interact with other people, that's when I was like, oh, where do I go for Black fellowship and Black community? Where do I go to support her in developing a good sense of identity about who she is? Because she was going through this phase where she was like, I don't like my skin, I want to be white. And that broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I was like, what do I do? Because Black people are Christians or Muslims. That's what they are. So it's like, I went on my journey, and I didn't think about how it would impact my daughter. But I guess one of the things that came out from it is, because I'm in this place now where I'm not afraid of religion, be it Christianity or anything else. I'm quite open. I'm like, yeah, we're going to try this and we're going to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's not kind of like do or die. That's a liberation for me, that I feel like, because I'm surrounded by lots of people who are still like, no, this is it, and Jesus, and all that kind of stuff. But actually, I feel like I've given, through my own journey, I've given her the gift of not being tied down to something that's going to limit her perspective of the world.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I think the community aspect part of it is huge. And especially like Black church is a whole other layer as well, like of the tight knit and closeness and community, and her appreciating the color of her skin. And when we leave church across the board, and the people who have deconstructed, they're like, where do I find my community? Where do I find my people? Who are the people that I do life with? And
Mm-hmm.
it takes work to figure it out. And sometimes it's like hobnobbed or cobbled together. And sometimes people from church will stay and sometimes they don't. And like that hurts too. Like when people don't have the ability to meet you where you are. And like that loss, I think, sometimes we're like, oh, the awakening, or people are like, okay, you're going to manifest, you're going to grow and you're going to bloom. But you don't realize, okay, when you bloom, the old buds kind of fall away. The old things, there's trade-offs. There are pros and cons. Like the
Mm-hmm.
fear is there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Belonging, safety, community, like it's very real. And I think sometimes that loss And I remember like the judgment and like the backlash when I started asking even bigger questions,
Mm.
and people are like, who do you think you are to ask this? Like, you don't have a degree. And I'm like, whoa, Barbara, like, hey, like, this says we shouldn't have rights and birth control. If I have a baby, I could die. Like, this is important to me, and like the cognitive dissonance we hold, or at least I used to hold and still hold sometimes, right? We all have our own things that we're
Mm.
holding
Mm.
to keep us safe, or quote unquote safe, in what we think will hold us, is its own toll that we're paying without realizing. And
Yeah.
so, like, turning that in, there's a price tag for all of it. And it's like, what are you willing to pay or expand into? Because that's contraction too, right? We expand and then
Yeah.
we contract, but then we
Yeah.
got to hold that, like, no, actually, I'm standing here and oh my God, this is terrifying, to be like, oh, none of you are coming with me. Okay, well, here I stand. For like me and my house, we will serve the Lord, but it's also like,
Mm.
for me and my house, we're gonna stand here on the margins, I guess. I thought we were all okay. No, none of us, just us. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
your salad. Yeah.
I think you're naming something so important there that can be so easily overlooked. I call it holding the tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're holding like the liminal, that space, the messy middle that like no one tells you how to live through apart from breathe. Breathe.
Yeah. You're
Breathe
like, if
through.
you tell me to breathe one more time, I will show you.
Yeah. I,
Oh,
I definitely feel like there's something there, and you're so right. It's a trade-off. So we come with these just like to think about the process. So yeah, we're feeling like there's a dissonance, like you said. Like it's not just even like there's dissonance between our thoughts and our actions. Also there's a it's also to do with the body and the soul as well. It's like a felt thing, isn't it? So it's like, I think if it was just our thoughts and our actions, we'd be able to override it and be like, oh,
totally.
yeah. But because it goes a lot more deeper and, it doesn't feel right in the body, which is, hello, autoimmune conditions and everything else, it's just that kind of thing. But what actually am I saying? Because I've lost my train of thought. Can you remember what I was saying?
Yeah, you were talking about like holding the tension of
Mm.
like the both and that it's not just thoughts and actions, but it's like your mind, body, spirit, emotions,
Mm.
mental, memories, future possibilities.
Yeah,
It's all like a tangled necklace, you know?
yeah, definitely. And so you have these questions, and you finally get the courage to begin to formulate the questions, and then you decide you decide to take a step into that space. And you're right, it's like it's not, you don't go from like A to Z, A to Z. There's a whole other journey there that you've got to make, and it's not an overnight thing. It's not a 1 week, 1 month, 1 year thing. It's not a 10-year thing. It's a whole journey, and sometimes it depends on what it is. But for this kind of continuous expansion that we're talking about, and we don't know what else there is, you're so right. It's like, what do I want to allow? What do I want to step into now? And that is also okay. I think there's nothing wrong with that, actually, because every layer needs to be lived, right? We're not trying to race to the end. There's like life in each layer that we want to experience.
Yeah, you're spot on. And I think that's something that we don't, I feel like every time we say something, we're like, that's something we don't talk about enough. But because it's because we don't, this is why you have your podcast. Um, is the like the so hard knowing of Christianity and of the structures and systems in place of this is what's right, this is what's wrong, this is easy, ba-da-da, just follow this, here's everything you'll get, ba-da-da, which is not always what you always get, even if you followed by the T, you know, which is why sometimes people are like, I followed everything, I did this all correctly, and here I got, this is not even a color changing spoon, you know, in the cereal when they started changing the things, they're like, where's my bowl? And they got a sticker. But it's like, this is the unknown. Like, I think the work is becoming somebody who is okay standing in the paradox of possibilities, of not even holding the both and, but being with the spectrum of it all, because it's all of it, right? I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, a client, about how, you know, if we want comfort, but then we're like, but I shouldn't be allowed to want comfort and ease and flow because, you know, it's hard elsewhere. But then if we're like, I can't have comfort and ease, what are we allowing? We're just saying, okay, I can only have discomfort, I can only have ease. But then we're like, don't want to disappoint either. And so we're like, okay, I want this, but I can't have this. And then it's like, actually, all of these things are going to come. They're all human experiences. And so then it's not even like a both and, it's just like, we're going to experience all of it. Can we be resourced enough to trust that spirit has our back in the expansion and our experience, and that we'll know what to do and we can do the next right thing, and that we're going to grow the tools to hold it all. And like, I've had new things coming up where it's just like, okay, I don't have enough information yet. Okay, we need to go take a nap. We're going to get more information when we need it. And I can like feel my system panicking. And I feel so silly because I feel like I'm treating myself like a toddler. But it has saved my sanity more times than not over the last 2 years. I've been saying this of like, okay, what more information do we need? Okay, what is this telling me? Okay, my body is panicking. Okay, what's up, Barbara? I call Barbara my inner critic, and sometimes just my body. It's just my catch-all of like, okay, hey, babes, what's up? But like that lightness of, oh, isn't that interesting, has helped the spiral, because it's all of it, which is hard, but that's different than the certainty, because we don't get it anymore. And that's scary and frustrating and big. Yeah.
Everything that you just said. Absolutely.
Thanks.
I mean, like earlier on today, I had a moment, I can't even remember, you know, like sometimes you just have like these fleeting thoughts, and like anchored to a thought, you feel like something stirring in your body is like, oh, my body didn't like that thought that I just had. You know, I don't know whether like, I can't even, it was so quick, but I was like, oh, okay. So, and I felt that anxiety, panic begin to rise. And I was like, okay, so this is important to me. This is something that I need to like be aware of and pay attention to. And I think that's so important because most of my life, I've suffered with anxiety and depression, although I didn't know it because culturally we're strong.
Didn't exist.
Yeah, it didn't exist, you know? So it was things that I had to learn how to navigate without ever putting a label to it, without ever understanding it until I was like maybe in my 20s. And by that time, I'd already developed an autoimmune condition because of years of like just not listening to my truth. So I was really quite disconnected from my body. You know, it was like communicating to me all the time.
Yeah.
But anxiety, the feelings, the sensations of anxiety became fear itself. You know, it's like the fear of the feeling, you know. And it's like, but over time it's been like, okay, no, this is the way my body is communicating with me. It's letting me know that there's something important. And why I'm saying this is because now I feel like what you said, I feel like there's so much in the future that could go wrong that I don't have control of, that there's not certainty or guarantees over. And yeah, if there was, then I'd be able to like, you know, sail through life and be like, oh yeah, I know what's going, you know, I can deal with it. But the truth is that I can't. And it was probably that actually something came on my mind. It was like, I don't know. What will I do if, you know, that kind of thing. And then the rise in anxiety and panics, like, actually, no, it's okay. And that trust bit, you know, knowing that spirit, knowing that universe, knowing that life, you know, will resource you. And it's coming back to that bit that we were saying, you know, a lot of what I feel stops, yes, I can say people, but I'm just going to focus on women, because that's what this podcast is directed towards. There is so much fear of what could happen next, things that aren't in our control.
Yeah.
In a world where we're kind of placed at the bottom of the food chain, you know, kids come after us, by the way, animals after kids, but, you know, we're pretty low down the food chain. It's like we've kind of been programmed and conditioned to get through life the best way that we can by being good wives or partners, mothers or daughters or whatever it is, you know, workers or whatever it is, you know. And it's like, that's our blueprint, that's our map. And now you're going to tell me, or there's these voices or there's these feelings inside of me telling me that actually, no, this isn't enough, there's more, you know. It's like, no, that doesn't feel okay to me. What if I believe this and I step into it and something goes wrong or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Because then people will be like, oh, you deserved it because you stepped off the path. Or like, see, this is what happens when you don't obey. Or this is, yeah. And then if it does succeed, they're like, okay, well, that was her. She's a one-off, XYZ. Like, or like she gets to have, there's always some reason that makes that person special so that the door gets closed after whoever left, whoever did, right? Or like, oh, they were a rebel or they were gay or they were, you know, butted up, like some reason that can't work for you too. I think for me, yeah, I have so many like you know how like when you have these conversations, you're just like, your brain's pulling up all these things of like, yep. Being surrounded by women who thought differently than I did, or like who were on similar wavelengths or a couple steps ahead of me, and like surrounding my virtual feed, because I didn't have many people. I had like some people in person, and like Red Tent helped me cultivate more of that when I was like, hey, do you guys want to, you know, get together and talk about the things we don't talk about? But online, there were people that were saying stuff that I was like, we can't actually exist like this. And I'm thinking specifically of the pleasure community led by Mama Gina, who wrote the book Pussy, that came out and talked about pleasure, not just erotic pleasure, but pleasure for our bodies and our souls and our energy. And I was like, no, but also yes. And I remember I was 6 months sober when I got my hands on this book, and I like it was like it breathed life in me. And I was like, we're allowed pleasure? Like, you know, sex pleasure is one thing, but like in our life. And it just reframed everything. And then I joined one of her classes and I met hundreds of women who were living their life in this like, hey, I have dance breaks and I do this way. And before my interview, I like, you know, I like touch my body nicely with lotion and I'm kind of gentle to myself. And like they were all alive, like embodied and alive. And I was like, okay, we're going to try this differently. Like, I think surrounding yourself with women who are showing up in real time, not just thinking about it, but doing it is game changing. Cause then I'm like, okay, I have evidence. I can bank that like, okay, if they can do that, I can do that, instead of, oh, they can do that, so I can't do that. You know, she's already doing it, so there's not enough space for me. But like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. Okay, there's evidence. That was revolutionary for me, is changing my virtual feed and reading books, but specifically watching the lives of these women, how they show up day in and day out, of like, oh, we can actually rewrite an entire script. Like the whole thing's rewritable. I had no clue. And I'm still like, oh, this is rewritable too. Oh my gosh. What? Are we sure?
Yeah.
Are we sure about this?
Yeah.
This feels,
oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay.
I mean, like when you say it like that, it's revolutionary. It's so powerful. So many things that I want to to touch on from what you've said. It's like, I know if I talk about this, we'll go down another poll, but I'm gonna go with it.
Very
Yeah.
good.
So like I think it was a month or so ago, I ran this kind of like email challenge on conscious reality creation, and that was like that was a new thing for me. It was this idea that we do have the power to shape our reality. We do it unconsciously anyway, but it's not necessarily conscious reality creation. It wasn't necessarily this idea about like manifesting. No, it's like what you said about embodiment and embodying. So for me, an example would be like I've started doing Latin styling dances. I love Latin dance. And I did it before I had my daughter, but just the way that motherhood is, especially the early years, you don't have much time for yourself. But this year, I don't know, something beckoned to me, and I was like, I want to go back. I want to go back and do it. There's always how you think you look when you're dancing, and how you look in reality. So how I thought, or how I remembered I danced in the reality of the dancing, and being surrounded by other women who had years of practice and who were much younger than me. But I've been doing this now for a few months, and it's like it's definitely it's changed me, because on so many, like what you said, it's about like that the pleasure and the joy. I know why I'm doing it. This is something for me, and in giving myself that permission to do something for me, that's changed me. But it's also the relationship that it's given me with my body, another layer of relationship with my body. Yeah, it's like you're learning, like, okay, there's this move where your arm goes up, and and it's like, because Latin dance, especially like bachata or salsa, it's very sensual. It's very evocative. It's very like, um, dramatic. And it does take you out of your comfort zone. And for me, that's the embodiment piece. It's not like I've made it. It's the learning to be, the becoming of that person.
Oh,
I wish you
becoming
could
of
see
that
AJ.
person.
Yeah.
Oh, Florence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And it kind of brings me, so I've jotted down a few words, and we can touch them any order, but I've got pleasure, I've got red tent, and I've got joy.
yeah.
Where would you like us to go next?
Yeah. Before we do that, I just want to say I love dancing so much, and I love dancing. For me feels like my soul is singing. I feel the most free when I'm dancing, especially like, so I love that you gave yourself permission to hop back in, and that you're showing up in it, and like that makes my heart so unbelievably happy. So yeah, let's talk about joy. And I mean, that kind of goes hand in hand with pleasure, but I think if people want to find out about Red Tent, you can send me a message, AJ Smit, thejoyweaver.com. I've got all the information there about Red Tent, or Florence can point you in the right direction. But I think there's a lot here about joy and pleasure as a side tangent, but joy feels illegal for a lot of people, especially right now in our world. Like, there's too much going on, that me feeling joy, me feeling happy feels like a betrayal of what's going, like, so I think that's worth touching on, as we kind of begin to close. Yeah.
Yeah.
What comes up for you around joy?
It's funny. I had a conversation with somebody else, and I touched upon the difference between joy and happiness, and how it was taught to me like from a Christianized perspective, whereas happiness was the profane cousin of joy.
Profane cousin of joy. That's great. I gotta write that down. That's lovely.
But I love the way how you kind of see them as like connected and hand in hand.
I think it's interesting too. Joy feels like people are like, I don't have time for joy, or joy is silly. or joy is for other people, not for me. And I think in my experience, and I reserve the right to be wrong, the people who say that are the people who haven't allowed themselves to feel joy in a hot minute, or they don't think they're allowed to. And not that they're jealous, but there's a secret yearning that's like, no, we're not allowed that because I have to be right and true and good. And joy is too wild, right? Just like David in the Bible. I feel like I'm quoting the Bible left and right today, but even his joy was shut down, right? But then I'm thinking about Trisha Hershey, who wrote Rest is Resistance, right? And she talks about rest and reclaiming joy, and Alex L, who's just like, do not let people steal your joy. Like, joy is part of the resistance. And there's a lady, she talks about painting with light. I can't remember her name right now. And I think also the interesting thread here is a lot of the women I'm learning from are Black women, are Black artists, and like, who has the revolution been led by? Like, who are women who are leading the path? And it's usually Black women, right? But like, the joy is what keeps us alive. It's fuel. And back in 2016, 2020, all this stuff, I was leading these circles and these spaces for women. And then in 2020, like right after I burned out, and I was doing like 10 red tents, 10 sacred spaces a month. And I like burned out because I was wanting to make sure everybody else was okay. So I was like, you okay, you okay, you okay, you okay. Everybody stay alive. Everybody stayed alive, which was my goal. But it came at the cost of me. And this was also when I was writing my book and all this stuff. And I was talking about joy and teaching it, but I wasn't also taking time to like fuel in the way that I needed to, right? I did some things, but then I didn't want to do too much or be too much or take up too much space, because then it would take away from other people and they wouldn't. Like, joy felt like, okay, I have mine, but I don't, you're suffering, so I don't want to be too bright over here. But then I burnt out. And then I found out the coolest thing. When I suffer, everything sucks. My life sucks. My husband's life sucks. Everything sucks. My friendships suffer. Everything suffers. The world did not get better by me suffering too. And I thought it would, or there would be some kind of validation, or like, we're in it together. We're in the mud. We're all miserable. We all hate the world. And like, I didn't have capacity, right? I didn't have capacity to go do anything. Like, I was a mess. And so as I healed in my sobriety, I was like, if I'm going to be sober because it cut my capacity, I was like, I have to do this differently. I have to prioritize myself. I have to prioritize my joy, because if I carve myself for other people to make sure they're happy, they feel joy, they have access, I'm screwed. And now that I like, my joy cup still stays full, like my aliveness, the way I fuel myself, and it takes more, but I have capacity to serve the world in a way I didn't back when I was suffering. And I think that's really important to remember. And now it's easier for me to staple into because I burned out and because I have that experience. But it's hard sometimes to hold that ground. But I think something really important is like, your joy is fuel, your happiness. And for me, happiness is like, that tree makes me really happy, or like, oh, this moment makes me happy. Joy is the like, my soul is happy. I'm content. Joy is the way we're existing in the world, of a baseline of, I'm here for a purpose. My soul is good and spirit has my back. That I'm connected. I'm in community for a reason. There are things to do here. There's magic to look for. There's alignment to look for and seek. Joy is the way of existing, not just like, oh, this is great. I had fun today. Like, yeah, I'm
I
like
love
that a
that.
lot because I'm happy a lot. But the joy is at the end of the day of like, yeah, we showed up. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I love that so much.
What's coming up
I
for
love
you?
that so much. I just want to just take a moment and just that is
Yeah.
so actually this morning I was dance is a way that I express myself. I love dancing, by the way. So this morning I was just dancing in the kitchen, like doing washing up and whatnot. And the weekend has been really, really busy and quite difficult. And there's been a lot of cleanup that I've done this morning. And I was like, I sent a post out to a couple of WhatsApp groups, and I was like, make sure that you make room for joy for yourself, just for yourself in your life.
Yes.
Because that is, and I was talking about it from a parenting perspective, because as a mother, and from being mothered by my own mother, I know that a stressed and unhappy mother, that feeds down to the children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's like, you're operating from survival mode, from reactivity. They're not getting the best of you, you know? And it's like, as I said, it was like a difficult weekend. It was busy, lots of stuff, but I just chose to dance this morning, just dance and sing. And it was like, I felt so good in myself, in my body, that, I just wrote it all in WhatsApp messages and just sent it out. Just think, make room for joy, because this is the difference, especially if you're doing the work of like healing timelines and lineage, and you don't want to pass on those generational patterns. You in your body, you've got to switch it up so that the joy is what is overflowing into your parenting, and it's not the stress and the reactivity. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. 100%. Keep going.
Yeah. So like that's and I think that's what I was actually trying to say, the permission bit, and it came back because you were sharing about your example of like burning out, and obviously you came like with really, really positive intention to support and uplift other people, but because you weren't nourished, like they weren't getting the best of you, you weren't getting the best of you. And then I think that's like the permission piece, that we don't know how revolutionary joy is, how sacred joy is. So I love like what you said about like, it's like a switch. People say yes, the highest, you either operate from fear or love, but I don't know where our, joy seems to me like right with love. I mean, I wouldn't know, if I think about like the energy of the universe or the frequency of the universe, I feel like it's a joyful frequency. I feel like, because the whole desire is life, right? It just wants to, and I feel like, how can life not be a joyful, how can it not be a joyful outpouring? So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
I just, as you said, like the universe, the energy of the universe is joyful. And can we just like let that just like wash over us? Like I'm just thinking of waterfalls and platypuses and kids splashing in the water and sunsets. The base I just moved to, because I'm a military spouse, I'm 3 minutes from the water. And so every morning I've been able to walk or run with my dogs and see the sun come up. And it's been these luscious clouds over the water and this pink, deep pink and purples. And I'm just, wow, like how grateful, like that our baseline is, is, is just wow, is awe and wonder. And the stars, right? When you see them, you're like, oh, like, wow, like it's just this expansion. And I just keep coming back to who benefits from us not having joy. Who benefits from you not operating at your fullest? Who benefits from you shrinking? Who benefits from you not laughing? And just like how you talked about, and man, multiple podcast episodes about immunocompromisation and like chronic illness too, right? But like the health of joy and laughter and lightness in our body and the tension we hold, of just like, think about like feeling angry or bitter about the world and all the fuckery. Oh, sorry. The things that are happening and the like, but then think about a sunset and like just being on a swing and swinging. and the way your body, right? And I
Yeah.
think too,
Yeah. Yeah.
touching too on the both and you mentioned like the fear when we feel it, if we let in an inch of play, like even like 1%, like cracking open the door, the play's like, oh, yeah, we could use this mound of nonsense to build a sandcastle and we're going to plant our garden, right? Or
Mm,
like, we're going to
mm,
like play is like the, oh, yeah, that is scary. Okay, maybe we think about it this way. Like if we allow play and joy, the things don't get so big. Then it looks like an adventure. And
mm,
that changes the tune, right?
mm. Um, but what comes back to me sometimes is the scripture of being like children,
Yeah.
becoming like little children. And
Mm.
that's really, it has nothing to do with obedience or timidity or anything like that. It's like, you know, like they've got it. They've got it. Before the world imposed their norms and conditions on them, they've got it. They're so
Yeah.
connected to what life means. And I feel like that's what we're all trying to get back to. If we think about awakening, oh my gosh, they really did a number on me. you know they really did a number on me, and now I've got to like undo all of this
Yeah.
stuff, and go back to basics of like what has always been true. And um yeah, there is so much. There is so much. I'm just looking at the time and thinking, we've
I know.
got
If you want to have a part two, I'm totally down as well, but also zero pressure because I'm with you. Yeah. This is my
yeah,
favorite things to talk about.
yeah. So I don't want to I don't want to segue into something else. But actually, I am going to, because I'll forget it next.
Just state it, and then we can either have the conversation here or
Okay.
just on our own
Yeah.
time. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that way you
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
So what I was going to talk about is like for me, like the conditioning aspect, and for me, part of the voice has been around beauty. I know that a lot of Christianized women maybe have issues around beauty. And I feel like maybe that's also why maybe a lot of women are attracted to you, because you're not afraid of being visible.
That makes sense. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it that
Mm,
way, but also like going back through the conversations, you're
mm,
spot on. Like
yeah,
the authenticity, the showing up. Like I get a lot of like, oh my God, like you are very bold. You show
yeah.
up brightly. Are you okay? You didn't die? Okay, can I do that? Could I pierce my nose? Do you think I could wear sparkly shoes? Like the people who like see the things and then they're like, can I too have a yeah, but beauty, that's a
That's a big one. And I
yeah.
had like a whole
Yep.
journey with beauty. I still am on a journey with beauty. And that's a reclamation. And I feel like that's joy as well. Joy isn't always about things like external to us. It's about things that we've denied ourselves because, as you said, we thought that we needed to self-sacrifice, we needed to appear in a particular way. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Oh, you're spot on. You've just said nothing but truth this whole time. This is just so much goodness. This feels so nourishing. And I just want to reflect back to you, if I may, in like our last come 2 minutes and so of like, I'm just so grateful for how you've consistently showed up and in the transparency of your journey. You're giving so many people permission to explore and question. And I love that you're bringing different people on here too, of just saying like, hey, it's not just my experience, but like, look at all these examples, what resonates. Like you're making a whole buffet of permission for people to explore and the levels you've had to work through, right? As like a Black Christian woman and a mom, like, and our world doing all of the stuff, like you reclaiming, you awakening, you showing up and publicly sharing. And just your words, the way you write, the way you speak is so beautiful and thoughtful. And it just shows all the years and your integrity and the way that you take care of yourself. It just pours out of you. So thank you for being you. You're just
Oh,
fabulous and stunning and amazing. And like you are a gift that this world is so grateful to have. I'm so grateful to have. And every time I see your post, I'm just like, get it? Like, yes, this is the goodness. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you for
thank
being you.
you. Thank you, AJ. That's so lovely to hear. Thank you so much. Um,
You're welcome.
Before we go, is there any kind of final words or anything that you want to direct like listeners to, like a freebie or a gift that you want to let them know that you have?
Yeah, totally. Um, Yeah, if you head to my website, I'm going to have to double check this because we just moved and I think I moved some things around, but I have a free sign up for my meditation library. So I have that as well. I offer coaching and all that jazz. So if you would like to even chat or have a conversation, AJ Smit on Facebook or The Joy Weaver on Facebook, Instagram, and .com. And I'm here for your joy or just have a conversation or point you in the right place for resources of solid people of integrity that are doing really cool stuff. So I'm always here to refer goodness as well, because sometimes we just need a library to be like, where do we go? How do I find this? Yeah.
And red tents too. Let's not forget that. That's really important.
And red tents. Yeah.
Okay, AJ, thank you so much for your time today, and let's catch up again soon.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
You've been listening to The Awakening Woman Ready to Thrive. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to take part in our special launch giveaway. You could win a spot in either the Awakening Path or Create Chicks Rising, and everyone who enters will receive a beautiful thank you bundle featuring resources and gifts from incredible women across my community. Entering is simple, and all the details are in the show notes. And if you'd like to contribute a resource to the thank you bundle or support the podcast in another way, just reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Most of all, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next episode.